What is going on in our world? I don't understand. Every news video I watch on my iPad just makes me more and more confused. Wrong is right, right is wrong, up is down, down is up. I am so confused. Where is God in all this? I know he's here, but it's also confusing. I've always said that the women in the Bible were people just like us, with the same hurts, hopes, and heartaches, and that their story is our story. And maybe, just maybe, our story was their story. I wonder if there were women in the Bible who were confused. How silly of me. Of course there were. I can think of two in particular. I wonder what it would have been like to be Mary, sister of Lazarus. I was so confused when my brother Lazarus died. I thought I understood Jesus' power and his love. I thought he loved Lazarus and that he loved us. We were a second home to Jesus. I would sit and listen at his feet for hours. He had such amazing wisdom. And I heard how he performed miracle after miracle. So when Lazarus became sick, I wasn't worried. After all, the Messiah was our best friend. I sent an urgent message, Lord, the one you love is sick. And then I waited for Jesus. I had no confusion about what would be happening. Jesus would hurry right over and heal Lazarus. And then Martha would feed us all one of her wonderful suppers while I sat at Jesus' feet and soaked in his words. So I waited and waited and waited. But our next visitor wasn't Jesus, but death. Death took my brother. And Jesus let it happen. I was so confused. I thought Jesus loved Lazarus. How could he let his loved one die? Finally, Jesus came, but the confusion remained. Why had he waited so long? And then he raised my brother from the dead. The dead! And I saw where my confusion had come from. My view of Jesus was too small, too limited. God is infinite. When we try to squeeze him into a box, confusion and heartache result. I wonder what it would have been like to be Sarah, wife of Abraham. When Jehovah told my husband that he would be the father of nations, I was confused at first. My womb was as dead as our hopes. But then my small mind came up with a plan. Of course, God just said Abraham would be the father. He didn't say anything about me. My maid Hagar would make an excellent surrogate. Or so I thought. I think we all know the confusion still being caused by our mistake. But then the angel came and visited us and said that I would give birth. Me? Waves of confusion washed through the shores of my mind. What? Impossible! How could it be? All I do was laugh at the thought. But you know how my story ended. God enabled me to give birth to Isaac, which means laughter. God indeed has a sense of humor. And I saw where my confusion had come from. My view of God was too small, too limited. God is infinite. When we try to squeeze him into a box, confusion and heartache result. Some things never change. I see where my confusion has come from. My view of God is too small, too limited. God is infinite. When we try to squeeze him into a box, confusion and heartache result. Confusion muddles my mind, makes me act unkind. It drags me away from God's will, but he always is still with me. God loves me. Clouds of confusion block my view of the sun, But just like God clears the clouds on a rainy day, He is always my ray of hope. Even when I grope for understanding, Jesus is there standing with an illuminating light, showing me always what is right. I need never give up, for He will always fill my cup with joy, with peace, with understanding, and the confusion blows away as God's overwhelming ray of hope shines in. I know I'll win, and confusion must flee because Jesus lives in me.